All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're reacting and having a discussion about a video from TwinsMainSage. So, original video will be linked in the description if you want to watch the full video on your own. But the title is "Why It's So Difficult to Kill a Cute Survivor." Now, there's two different ways to read this title, but we'll go with the one that that is less funny, but a little bit more. A little bit more serious, I guess. But anyway, so the idea here, I'm probably assuming, is like when the survivor will stop and start pointing at you or something like that, and why some people struggle with that or something like that. So I wanted to kind of talk about the topic, and I just want to hear what TwinsMainSage has to kind of say, and then I'll also be able to kind of give my input as a killer main myself. And as a killer-only player, I should say, and we'll talk about it.
I really struggle with killing friendly survivors. I know that sounds silly. Obviously, the choice is up to me, and it'd be nuts for the survivors to expect the killer to spare them just because they're being cute.
Okay, I gotta stop it right there, because the thing is that as as crazy as it may seem, all right, to the TwinsMainSage here, it's like describing it as nuts is comedy for me, because the fact of the matter is that most people, a vast majority of survivor players, truly believe that that's how it works. But crazy to say, but like in my experience, at least from what I've seen across the board, when I've looked at a lot of videos and things like that, or what I've seen, just from my own gameplay or when I watch other people play. It's all a general consensus that they believe that they are entitled to a free escape because they stop and start pointing at the sky or something I just disagree with that notion. And I also have to say that I don't find it difficult at all to end these survivors that decide to stand there and point for whatever reason and do other stuff.
But the problem is, when I'm playing normally, put that in quotation marks, I am zoned out. I'm listening to music, I'm half focusing on killing the survivors while thinking about my guinea pigs. And then a survivor does something unexpected.
Okay, so I get it now. Okay, so that does put things into perspective. So if you are playing the game, but you're not really focusing on winning, if you're not really focusing on the game itself in any sense, and you're just kind of zoned out, which, funny enough, like, at least when I don't really choose DBD as the game I play to zone out. I'm usually, when I play DBD, I have to lock in. Like, from my experience, I can't really do that unless I'm asking to just get steamrolled for like 3 to 5 matches plus straight. And I don't really have the patience to deal with it personally. But that's just me. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree.
And charming, and everything becomes real. I normally have to pause the music to actually pay attention to the game. While playing seriously, I can thrive with the knowledge that everyone here is on the same page about their roles. They run, I chase, I kill, they survive. Simple. And then survivors stop running, and the game comes to a standstill. I struggle to continue to chase someone that is breaking away from their expected role. It's an actual psychological tension that occurs in my brain. It doesn't...
That's something that I find kind of fascinating in a way, because I don't experience that at all, honestly. For me personally, like, if I see that somebody's giving a free kill, I'm just going to take the free down. I'm not really going to give up any free pressure. And speaking from somebody who mains Ghostface, who mains the low tiers, and and has mained Freddy, Ghostface, and whatever have you, like, low tiers in the game for as long as I have at this point, like, you can't give away any pressure at that point. And from that perspective, I take advantage of what is given, especially when you are playing like reworked Freddy. When you're playing current Ghostface, it's still the second weakest in the game, as I've said many a times. Extremely weak killer, extremely terrible to play, and it's very unfortunate that is the case, but it is what it is either way. So I can see that, like, at least from, you know, my perspective, the play styles and the way that we approach this game are two completely different things. And obviously, you know, I don't have any desire to kind of stop and give them anything. And the reason I've also said this, and it's many a times, and I've said in other videos, like, I don't really agree with the idea, because there is no equivalent for a survivor giving mercy to the killer side in any way, shape, or form. It never happens. It's not common, but for some reason, the killer has to follow by the rules that are set by the survivors for some reason. So if a killer is doing badly, say they're like new to their killer and they're struggling, the survivors are never like stopping to give them a hook, or stopping healing, or stopping the gens from being rushed to give them a chance. They don't not use map offerings to go to insane maps. They don't not stop healing. They don't do any of these things that can help them get a comeback, or at least help them kind of come back to like a more, you know, fair point into the match, a more fair level. So because of that, I believe, at least from my perspective, I just don't participate in it, because it's not a mutual thing. It's they use this as a weapon to try to gain free wins off of other killer players. You know what I'm saying? And that, to me, I just don't think is a fair way. If it was normalized where it was both ways, you know, if it was like kind of like fair in that sense, where both ends or both sides, I should say, are trying to make it more enjoyable for the other side in that way, where they will slow down, kind of give them a chance to make a comeback as well, to at least keep the game going, then I'd be like, all right, maybe it makes sense. I get it. But like, that's not how it works, unfortunately.
Doesn't feel like a conscious choice to spare a cute survivor.
The text on the screen, if you can read it, says, would killing her be a betrayal of her trust? And the thing is, like, I don't know why it's taken to this extent. Like, I know it's probably for comedy, like, but I've heard people like literally say like they genuinely can't do that. It's not really fair to them. And I've had people like literally lose their minds when I've had like gone against a team like that, and I would just kill them, because I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm trying to get my win and move on. Like, I want to get on to the next game, you know. And it's really hard to step into the shoes of somebody that is seeing it from that perspective, at least. But, you know, maybe that's just me.
I have this self-image of being a kind person, and if this survivor, this human being, has come up to me and essentially asked me for mercy, and I don't give it to them, then there's an inconsistency in my head, and this causes tension and stress. Obviously,
okay, I get it. So it's because of how somebody views themselves, and they're sort of like policing the way that they approach interactions with other individuals, so that they are then, you know, remaining consistent to how they see themselves. Yeah, okay, so it's kind of like you're setting rules for yourself, and then you're saying, like, kind of like an RPG in a way, where you're like, hey, this is out of character for this person that I'm controlling in that way, which is interesting. I didn't really think it was that deep, honestly. I was just sitting here thinking it's a video game, it's just pixels, let's move on with our lives. That's kind of crazy, but hey, I mean, I'm here for it. You know, we're here for new perspectives and to learn things.
there are decisions that can be made to lessen this tension. If the survivor team brought a map offering, it feels easier to be merciless, or if they behaved in a disrespectful manner earlier. But if they've done nothing against me, it's tough for me to go through with the kill. That's ridiculous, right? I always assumed I was...
I do think it is ridiculous. I think that, I think for me personally, the baseline is I'm going to go in with the idea that I want to win the game. And that will be the main objective for the entire match. And then if they add on the fact that they're doing map offerings and that they're being, like BMing in different ways, and of course that adds like more motivation to continue that objective, I would say. At least like it goes it's pretty much a one-way street when it goes in that direction. And if they quit, even better, it's icing on the cake, you know what I'm saying? When they give up and stuff like that, that means you won, you won double, I would say, because they feel like that, like it's hopeless, and therefore you won the battle in their mind and the battle in the game. You know what I mean? In the sense, like it's like a double win. You know what I mean? Like at least from my perspective of trying to focus on the competitive aspect and trying to overcome the challenge, because but this is also coming from somebody who mainly plays the M1s, and every match is a struggle. So, I mean, winning is ultimately, going to be that goal, I guess, especially when you are playing a low tier. Trying to overcome the challenge of just playing the low tier as it is, I think is in itself already enough. If I was playing Blight or something, maybe I'd be more inclined to not really care as much about the win, because you probably win so often, or at least are able to have a chance of winning so often, in comparison to a killer that is incredibly weak with no options. Like, the loss just feels like weighs way more on the shoulders than because of the fact that the win can almost be either inconsistent, to impossible at times. But that's just how I see it, at least.
Consciously making decisions to spare the survivors that I spared. But it turns out I am simply avoiding being perceived as an unkind person. And it's so much easier for me to rationalize being a friendly killer when the team has someone disconnect or their teammates give up.
So I kind of understand the idea that you feel bad for maybe the team in some kind of way. I may not understand it, but I can understand the idea that you potentially could be following that sort of, I guess, rule set, that you want to be consistent with how you kind of view yourself in that type of way. I think that is understandable to some extent. However, the one thing that I disagree with it, and for various reasons. I mean, like I've said before, you're not really given grace as a killer. Like, there's never not a chance where, like, if you're doing badly, that a survivor team will stop gen rushing, stop healing, stop doing all the things to progress objectives to give you a chance to get some hooks. Like, they don't do that to help equal it out. They actively keep pushing and pushing to the very end, and then they teabag at the exit gate. Like, they don't, and then in the end game chat, they're insulting you, and they're doing everything in their power to try to get you even more upset for the loss that is out of your control. So, it's a lot of the, entitlement, and it's a lot of it's a big part of the community that, DVDs unfortunately has. So I can understand the concept. However, I don't agree with it. Trying to stay consistent with your values and yourself. Also, I do want to add in the point that we are playing as villainous characters that are, like, extremely, evil. I would have to get at too. I mean, otherwise we would be playing a completely different game, because this is a horror game where we're playing as a killer. So, like, I don't think that's really in character to give mercy, in my opinion, at least. I mean, most of these killers enjoy doing this. Like, take Clown as an example. Depraved, absolutely diabolical character, like, insanely diabolical character. Check the lore, you know what I mean? Ghostface, Danny Johnson's Ghostface, another example of just, like, he would absolutely love striking fear in people and killing them and everything like that. That was his favorite thing to do. It excites him. You can read the add-ons too. So, is there a couple of characters that are forced in a way, like, or maybe made to see other things? Of course. But objectively speaking, like, if I'm playing Clown, he's slapping people and giggling. If I'm playing Doctor, extremely evil character, he's always giggling when he gets to shock people and hurt them, right? And, and any other characters, right? Like, Myers is literally the embodiment of evil, right? Like, literally one of the most evil characters. Vecna's another one, like, super evil. Like, you can name any character that they're most of the time they're either enjoying it or they're enjoying killing, like, the people that they want to kill, that entity makes them see. So, like, at least in my opinion, like, it's more out of character for who you're playing as than it is for yourself, at least in my opinion. And mind you, also, I've also argued that, these people are strangers. Like, you're never gonna see these people again. Like, you don't know these people. Like, and they don't know you either. Like, they don't really, I don't think that anybody cares about, who they're up against over the screen, bro. They just see a character trying to kill them and they're trying to move on. At least from my perspective. I don't know. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, you know what I'm saying? But that's just how I see it, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, alright?
Puts the remaining survivors at a notable disadvantage, and I would feel wrong exploiting that. I don't have this same fear when everyone is on the same page. All the survivors are running, they're progressing the game, they clearly know what they're doing. Everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. And then it's not, and survivors are looking up at you with their puppy dog eyes, and what can you do? How can I live with myself if I am the one to take away their hope? It's funny that I've pushed this idea.
Personally, I enjoy taking away the hope, you know, in my opinion. Like I've said earlier, if they quit, rage quit, give up, like that to me is the icing on the cake. Because like I've said, like it's like a double win in my perspective. Like you were playing so well, and you're showing that you're skilled to the point that they believe that there is no chance of survival, no chance of escaping this. You know, in a sense, that's the most like literally lore accurate that you can literally be in a way. You know what I mean? Like that's what I find so like interesting and fun about it is that, you know, you're picking up the weapon of a killer that you know, like license wise or whatever have you, and you're literally embodying their essence in that way. Like you're using their power how as effectively as you can, which, you know, and then taking into account that, like, you know, the lore and stuff like that, because you are being, you know, you're being used by the entity to, you know, fulfill your desires to kill as much as you want, and then also feeding the entity at the same time, and then you're also like kind of stepping into the shoes of the character. Like there's a lot of layers to it that I think is very fun. And overall, I just enjoyed like winning, you know what I mean? And I think it's fun to kind of show like that I've mastered my character in that way, and I think that is very interesting, at least to me. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, people can have different perspectives on it. It's perfectly fine, but that's just how I see it. And you can let me know your perspective in the comment section.
Of not letting others dictate your playstyle and to do what you want to do. But the second I run into friendly survivors, my playstyle is to do whatever will make them happy. I had a moment on Dead Dog where two survivors.
I gotta talk about that too. I'm sorry, like it's a lot. It's probably, it might be a long video, but I gotta talk about that too. I mean, I understand the idea, like as a killer player, that you want to, you know, give the survivors an experience, but like I've said, it never goes both ways. Like survivors are constantly bringing the sweatiest things they can. Even in this little like pause right here, I see 2 flashlights, I think, unless it's the map, but I see 2 flashlights. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're going against teams that are, you know, trying to bring the most ridiculously strong stuff. They're sending you to the strongest maps for Survivor. They're bringing the strongest perks. They're bringing the strongest items. You know what I mean? And like if you're mainly going against that, like you're just not inclined to want to give them the same experience, because they clearly are going in with the intent to make your experience terrible. And that to me is like is not really an equals, you know, sort of standpoint in my opinion. And that's why I don't really believe in it. Me personally.
We're staring at a vulture. I've seen this vulture countless times. I knew it was there. It's nothing new or special, but I've never stared at it with these specific survivors. The gestures, the staring, the quiet moments of communication and connection, they all make the game feel so real. I guess I don't know if my choice to be friendly comes from a place of seeking human connection, or I'm not sure if I should call this phenomenon cognitive dissonance or a fear of being a hypocrite. Cognitive dissonance occurs. I
think it's a fear of being a hypocrite, because if you're starting off with the premise by saying that, hey, I view myself as a good person, I want to be kind to people, I want to be, you know, a positive force for people's lives or whatever have you, then that, you know, is what you want to do. That's sort of like how you decided to play out your RPG playthrough. That's perfectly freaking fine. However, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I do want to add on the idea that, like, we are playing as villains. Like, so, like, you know, I don't understand, like, what the issue is. Like, at least from my perspective, like, you're slapping around some pixels as a pixelated, you know, fictional character. It's like if I loaded up a Call of Duty and I was like, man, like, that soldier I just shot at must have had a family or something, you know? He ain't coming back home. I feel terrible for the other team. You're gonna sit there and be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're gonna, like, or if, like, it's an operator on, like, Black Ops 3 or 4 or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that was, Jeff, freaking Johnson or something. Oh, man, I knew that guy's lore, man. He's a good guy. I shot at him, and now he's freaking dead, man. You're what do you like? It's Call of Duty, bro. Like what? Like you don't even know who these people are. They all have different skins and all this stuff. Like what? Like, are we really sitting down and doing that? Like, imagine, like, just imagine if that was a thing. You know, it's like, what are we talking about right now? Like, but I get it. You know what I mean? I get it, and I don't. You know what I mean? So you know, it's fine.
When behavior and belief don't really match up. The behavior, in this case, being killing a friendly survivor, and the belief being that I'm a nice person. Although I guess I am a hypocrite, right? I don't like being tunneled, but I'm willing to tunnel if that's what has to be done in order to win. A survivor only becomes a human being in my eyes when they stop running. Otherwise, they're a challenge to overcome. An opponent to face. I think I need to let go of my fear of inconsistency with myself and acknowledge that my approach to the game will vary and shift as much as the trials themselves. Sometimes I will be merciful, sometimes I will play like an asshole. Neither of these dictate who I am. It's important to remember not to attribute morality to in-game actions. Even the worst behavior, in quotation marks, like teabagging, BMing, disconnecting, none of these are indicators of how good or bad of a person you are. There is almost no way to play like a bad person. You are only being a bad person if you are attacking your opponents personally in endgame chat or on Steam or on Twitch. Almost everything that happens within the confines of the game doesn't have moral value.
The thing is, though, unfortunately, is that we do have a community where a lot of survivors are partaking in that kind of gameplay, and they're partaking in the, well, you know, gameplay in terms of BM and also those kinds of behaviors that they seek you out. They try to look for your profile. They try to, you know, send you direct messages and try to find you and try to, you know, belittle you and things like, and insult you and things like that outside of that because of a video game. Because that you didn't play in the way that they wanted you to play as. And because of that, I think that also adds to the idea that it really doesn't matter from my perspective, you know. At least when I've started playing, I wasn't really given that kind of grace. I was never given anything like that as well. I mean, it seems it's a foreign concept even nowadays, as you know, as more of an experience to, like, you know, I guess advanced sort of player. Even nowadays, I play. I'm pretty consistent. I don't give anybody really anything, any leeway in that kind of way, because you know I'm ultimately just, you know, going in for the competitive, you know, motions of it, like trying to counter loops and things like that, and trying to, you know, do the best I can with considering my tools are so limited as a ghostface player, because his tools are very very limited, unfortunately. And like I've said before, like it's sort of like trying to, you know, push the boulder up the mountain when you're already against like Survivor that already has the strongest stuff in the game, and you know you're already going against the most experienced teams with communications going in to try to make sure that you have the worst time that you can. So, you know, it's just like, at least from my perspective, it applies to my experience in the way that I've been, you know, playing against like the toughest teams for as long as I could remember, I think, at this point. And, you know, maybe this like type of logic applies a bit better for maybe like the more average player, more casual player and stuff like that. Like they even mentioned that they will have music playing, maybe they're like, you know, doing whatever, right? And like and if you're approaching killer in that way where it's literally just something you're doing in the background, then I kind of understand like the idea that also that even like when you're going into the match like purely just to, you know, pass the time and have and not about having the experience of the game itself in that sense. So I think I understand where, you know, the TwinsMainSage is coming from.
We only judge others' actions based on our personal rulebooks. This judgment will always exist. So long as we are in the presence of other human beings, our actions and choices will be compared and scrutinized. We judge others for killer choices, perk choices, items, add-ons, offerings, actions, all based on our own personal idea of how the game is meant to be played. I've noticed that I get upset when survivors or killers don't react to situations in the way that I would react to them. For example, I always stop and listen when survivors use bardic inspiration, but killers don't always do that for me. And you know what? It is unfair to expect other people to change their behavior for me, especially in a competitive game. A killer does not owe the survivor team any level of kindness, and vice versa. What's beautiful is that we show kindness.
Yeah, personally, I don't really wait around when they play guitar either, because usually 9 times out of 10 they're usually giving up when they do it. So I just take it as a signal to get the down and get them out of the lobby to get my pressure for the win personally.
And respect anyway, but that is the exception, not the rule. I think an important thing for you to do if you play a lot of DPD is to recognize what exactly you are looking for out of the trials, and how the presence of others affects your behavior. Do not let the opinions and judgments of others leave you feeling paralyzed or self-conscious. If you are playing in the way that you find fun and fulfilling, then you are playing the game correctly.
Alright, so that is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Alright, so let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Support the channel with the links in the description. Let me know what your thoughts. Support. Also follow on Twitch if you want to watch me play Kill Live. I will see you guys in the next video.